welcome to The Mighty Dragon. With me today is another French actor, but no stranger to The Mighty Dragon, who was last on The Mighty Dragon in 2019. So I'm so happy to welcome back Jess Liaudin. Hello. Was
Hi.
the name correct? Liaudin.
Yes, that's pretty good. You done pretty well.
Okay, you're my second French actor this year, so I'm kind of getting used to trying to pronounce the names properly. So, how are you? How's life been since 2019?
It's been very good. I can't complain. I've been pretty busy, especially last year. Obviously, we had that big scare with the COVID, so we were
Yeah,
all stuck home, and I wasn't sure how the business was gonna start again. But then when things start clearing up, which is the beginning of last year, I started working, and I haven't stopped since then.
yeah, brilliant. I saw on your IMDb that you were in Luther. Can you tell
Yes,
me about that?
yes. Well, it was great to see Idris again. You remember me straight away. Obviously, we had a small encounter in a film called Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah,
It was very small, and he killed me in that. But funny enough, he remembered me. So he came, he high fived me. He was like, "Oh, here we are again." I was like, "Yes." Um, I can't say much about the movie. Also, let's just say I didn't have the best of experience with it. I'm not
right.
going to get too much into details, nothing to do with Idris.
Yeah.
But right after that, I did another a film for, because that's a film, by the way, Luther is not a TV show.
Oh, right.
Um, and what I did is I did another film for Netflix, but this time with Kevin Hart. And that's not on
Yeah.
IMDb, Bill, so that's an exclusive, if you will.
Yeah.
It's a film called Lift, with a director called Gary Gray, who's done some great film like The Negotiator, Straight Outta Compton. I remember a film he did back in the day in the 90s called Set It Off. He did the remake of the film with Michael Caine, with the Mini Coopers. Um,
Oh, yeah.
The Italian Job. So very good director. Yeah, he did this film. So he's starring Kevin Hart. You got Paul Anderson in it as well, and I had a wonderful time on this movie. It was fantastic, and I play an Irish gangster, which
Right.
was, I had to get rid of this accent. That's the reason I wanted to tell you that, because that's not on IMDb yet. Sometimes what they do is when they're in production, they
Yeah.
don't put all the actors on IMDb. They keep the key actors, the lead one, to
Yeah.
promote the movie, to get people talking about it, and then progressively they're releasing some of the actor on it. So that's one of the projects that I've done recently that is not on IMDb, but I've done others as well that are not on IMDb either.
Yeah, I was going to say when I looked at your IMDb and it was so busy. So from after like a quiet period, you've got so much going on. How do you manage all of that commitment and projects?
Yeah, I mean, last year I did 9 films and TV shows, and this year I'm on my fourth one.
Ah,
And sometimes you got to say no to some projects. Sometimes it's a gamble. Like, for example, I did a film called One Ranger with Jesse Johnson.
yeah,
And Jesse Johnson is a very good up and coming director. And I did a film with him, and he's starring Thomas Jane. And I'm playing one of the bad guy, and I play a wonderful role in it. Something a little bit different than people might have not seen me doing before, alongside Dean Jagger. Dean Jagger is an actor on a TV show called Warriors.
right.
So
Oh,
it was a great project. So, but when I was in that, we had to shoot stuff overseas, and we were on standby because we didn't know if some of the other actor could go there because of the visa. So I was waiting, and in the meantime, I got offered another role on a film in Malta, um, with Frank Grillo.
right.
And unfortunately, I had to say no to them because date-wise, he wasn't working. And
Yeah,
yet, on One Ranger, I only had one day left. But because of that single day, I couldn't start another movie. So sometimes it's very difficult to jungle all of different production, and you got to say no. And sometimes you say yeah to something. For example, as a stunt performer, sometimes it's a bit slow. I don't have any job, so I might just work as a performer. And then you start working within a couple of weeks, where you get called for an acting job. But that's the way it is. That's
yeah. It just seems you've suddenly got so much on, haven't you? I've really thought, gosh, that's so much. How are you going to manage all of that? But good for you. Um, I've seen as well that you have an indie zombie film
Mhm.
coming up. Death Do Us Part?
So that's another funny one. I Is Death Do Us Apart, and I agreed to work on this movie. I wasn't sure at first because the director hasn't really done anything anymore. We were introduced through a friend of mine, and I wasn't sure. But then Jason Fleming said yeah to work in the movie, and because my role was very close to Jason Fleming, I thought it would be interesting to work with him because he's a
Yeah.
very busy actor. So I thought just for that reason only, I accepted the movie. So we did the film, and it was what I expected. A little bit disorganized, it's the first movie. But then in the middle of production, they start having friction in between the director and one of the producer. And one of the producer wanted to take over the movie to a point that he fired the director, who's also the script writer, and who also had people like Jason Fleming working on the project.
Oh my God.
So all of a sudden, the film stopped shooting. Now they have to go to court. Jason Fleming pulled back from the movie because he didn't even sign a contract. He's done it as a favor for the director. So
Wow.
now he even removed himself from IMDb. So God knows what's going to happen to this movie. Is it ever going to be finished? Is it ever going to be released? I
Yeah.
doubt it. But at least I got to meet Jason Fleming and work with him. But I
Yeah.
don't think this film never going to see the light of the day.
Wow, gosh, what a story. Oh my gosh. I must admit, I've been having a poke around on your Facebook page and I've seen you jetting off to lots of different places around the world. And there was a rather fabulous picture of you with some monks. Was that a holiday in India or was this a movie
No,
or?
that's a movie. I started a movie end of last year around December called Ganapath with an Indian action star called Tiger Shroff. And I'm playing the bad guy of this movie. So obviously we done all the fight scene and everything, but now we have to do the acting scene. And so they flew me to India to shoot my acting part.
Right.
And it was in a mountain, in a place called Leh, and it's right next to Pakistan, and I'm going to say Tibet. And obviously, because of that mix of culture, it's very exotic, it's very exciting. You got different languages, people look completely different, and you have a very big um, what is it called? I'm losing my word, but the influence coming from Tibet.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of monks and obviously temple and stuff like that. So when I was in a mountain, in between being sick because I've never been that high before, and I didn't even know what altitude sick meant until I went up there. It's frightening. I mean, I couldn't even fall asleep. I was trying to fall asleep, and then I felt like I couldn't breathe. So in between that and shooting, yes, I visited a few places, and I went to see those monks, and they were very excited to see me. Obviously, they don't really see many guys that looks like me, so they asked to take a picture and stuff like that. And I was like, "Well, let me take a picture for myself as well." There you go.
Great. It was such a lovely, lovely picture. As an actor, what's your main focus for the next few years?
To keep working, I mean, the good thing is I've been recently playing different roles. Obviously, I'm often the henchman, the tough guys, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Now, I work in a TV show called Irma Vep that just been released in Cannes. They only showed the first 3 episodes. It's for HBO Max, and so far the review have been very, very good. It's with a director called Olivia Sayas, who usually does arty-farty stuff, none of this fighting business. It's starring Alicia Vikanders, and I play a role in it over 2 episodes. And I don't do no fighting. I'm playing an actor in it, so I'm very excited about that. So I've got that coming up. I'm also playing a Russian mercenary in a TV show called Liaison for Apple TV, where I'm facing Vincent Cassel. And where, yeah, again, I'm not doing it's more all about dialogue and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward for those things to come out so people can see a different side of me, not being so intimidating and chewing a little bit more dialogue. The same with One Ranger. I've got a lot of dialogue and good scene in this, and I'm playing, as I said, a very eccentric character. So hopefully that would give a director ideas and thinking, well, maybe we can cast this guy for something else than being a tough guy. But even so, when I did Lift, obviously I was cast on this through stunts because I had to be hanged upside down for awful long time, and they didn't think an actor could be able to pull it.
Yeah.
So they decided to cast stunt performer.
Right.
Obviously, some of them I used to act, some of them not so much. And I was cast through this, and I did my part. And after that, the director and the producer was so thankful. They took me on the side, they showed me a rough cut, they called the coordinator, say how happy they were about my job. So even so, sometimes I'm working through stunts. It also gives me great opportunity as an actor, and also to meet those people that might recognize me in the years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the impression that I got from you when we first spoke, the first interview, is that you're a super highly disciplined person in the gym every day. Is that still the same for you now? You still in the gym every day?
Still the same. Still the same. It's part of my life. I've done that since I'm a little kid. So obviously, even if I don't go to the gym, I don't feel well. I feel very sluggish. I feel like I need to go to the gym to wake my body up. If
Yeah,
not, even if I don't train for a week, sometimes it does happen. Like when I went to India, I couldn't train there, and I've got pain and head coming back up. My body requires to be active all the time.
right.
Not only that, but also some of the role I'm playing, I'm required to be physically fit. But even so, recently I've lost quite a bit of weight. I'm trying to be slimmer. I'm trying to be leaner. I'm trying not to be as bulky as I used to be. It might obviously cost me some roles, but I'm not getting any younger. So that's one thing. So doing all that heavy lifting and carry all this mass is not as easy as it used to be. But also, I realize if you're very mostly casting director, they look at you and they say, "This is a henchman. This is not a bad guy." They really find it hard to break it into their brain that, oh, this potentially could be an actor.
Right.
Obviously, people thinking, oh, there's Dwayne Johnson and John Cena and Dave
Yeah.
Batista, but there's only a few of them. And
Yeah.
the role they're playing are very limited. So for me, I can't really afford to be that big. So I'm trying to slim down to potentially play more interesting role, let's just say.
Right. Okay. I remember as well that you had a passion for indie film. Is that still the same? Still enjoy?
Yeah. I mean, I like any movie, but what I did find about indie movies is they shoot much faster. There's also a lot more communication. You can
Yeah.
kind of exchange with the director, with the producer, some of your ideas. It's not so rigid compared to those big machine like the Marvels, for example, which everything is planified, even what shot they're gonna get on a day.
Yeah.
Um, but saying that, since COVID, movies have been shot a lot more faster
Yeah.
because of COVID, because of what it requires, or also how much it costs now to shoot, they tend to shoot a lot quicker, which is a good thing.
Do you
Uh,
think that's been a learning process for a lot of people, a lot of filmmakers, that they need to be more efficient in their process?
Absolutely. One of the first job that I've done after the lockdown was Batman. I work as a stunt performer on that, and I got to fight the bat itself. But Yeah, that movie cost a lot of money because they were trying to figure out what was going on. We were doing COVID tests every single day. That cost a fortune, all
Yeah.
of the mask and everything. So yeah, it was very complicated. And now I think people are kind of learning progressively how to deal with it. And the actor are left alone a little bit. They do have different masks sometimes, sometimes they don't, but it's more the crew that wear masks, but also timing wise. So it's getting much better. But like for example, the Indian, I didn't code COVID at all until I started working on that Indian movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Not a single COVID test. And when I arrived on set, I had to do a fight scene, and we had 166 extra around me. Not a single one of them had a COVID test. Not a single one of them had a mask.
oh,
So I caught COVID. I didn't felt anything. The only reason I knew I had COVID is because I lost my sense of smell and my
yeah,
taste,
right.
which unfortunately was over Christmas. And I booked this wonderful hotel who had amazing food, and I couldn't taste none of it.
Oh no. Oh no. So, oh gosh, so you actually did quite well to go that long without catching COVID.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you too about No Time to Die.
Well,
What
that
did you
was
think of
initially I was contacted on that by a guy called Matthew Sampson, who usually booked the performer. And usually when I work as a stunt performer is mainly to do fight scene because of my previous background in fighting, or maybe because there's a bit of acting involved and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And in this case, initially they contact me to get into a bit of a scuffle with James Bond. So I was
Wow.
very excited. So I was supposed to be at a door in a bar in Cuba and we were supposed to get into a fight. But then that scene got cut. So I was like, oh.
Oh,
But they say, you know what? We still need some guys in the bar. It's not going to be very exciting. So if you want to do it, I said, listen, I always wanted to work on a Bond movie. So yeah, why not? So I went up there and they were a different plan. I was supposed to be shooting one stairs at one point, and this, then that, and playing change all the time. That one of those movies where things change every hours
yeah.
when we couldn't really get an answer of what are we actually doing. Um, but then eventually it was like, well, Jess, we got nowhere to put you. So I was disappointed. But the day previously, they decided that a bunch of actors which play Spectre agent was supposed to fall on the floor. Now, usually when you prepare those type of scene, they usually either train or they are stunt performer because you will have to fall down
Yeah.
multiple times during the day.
Right.
And some of these people, like especially the women, are wearing cocktail dresses, so you can't have any pads. But production didn't think that way. So they had all those actors and actresses that didn't have any pads, that didn't have any training. Some of them were elderly, let's just put it this way. And they expected them to fall on the floor because they would train one afternoon for a couple of hours.
Oh my
So
God.
the job of the stunt performer were to help these people falling down, to hold them as they were losing consciousness so they can put them down a little softer. So that was my job. I went from fighting James Bond to holding on to a Chinese guy just struggling to breathe and putting him lightly on the floor, which was a bit disappointing. But hey, at least I walk in a bond.
Absolutely, and Daniel Craig's last film as well.
Yes.
What an honour. My last question, and I had to ask, you've been in the UK for quite some time now. So would you say that you've adopted any British habits?
Well, yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for my accent, I mean, I consider myself being British. Obviously, when I start speaking, people are like, "Hold on a minute," but I've been living here for 25 years now.
No
Yeah,
way.
I know. The reason I'm keeping the accent is because it's got a bit of a sexiness about it. But really, no, 25 years I've been living here. And I always loved it. I always felt that I was born to be here. So, and the reason I loved it and the reason I've been living here for such a long time and being successful is because I adopted the way of the British life, if you will. So
Right.
I'm as British as any person that lives in over here, really, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, even when I go back home, sometimes there's certain things that I do, like English people, and people think, no, you know, like French. It sounds weird, but you know, like French people automatically when they see each other, they go and kiss each other's cheeks. You know, like we don't do that. See how you say we? See how you say I do we? That's how I consider myself. We don't do that. So when I go back to France and these people, I see a lady and she approached me, my first reaction is just to give her my hand and just shake her hand.
Yeah.
As she goes, so it's always that weird, awkward kind of
Yes.
situation there. So little things like that, little things like
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And
thank
I
you.
hope to see you again in another couple of years just to catch up and see what's been happening in your life. So
Well, it'd be great.
thank you so much, and I will see you soon.
Thank you.